Next item is the City Manager Recruitment Committee, which was held last Thursday. Frankly, I was somewhat surprised when I walked in and saw the representation in the room. I mean, we had a good variety of folks from the community. If we were short any facet of the community, was probably the younger, I got to watch myself there, but the younger population may not have been particularly well represented, but I guess you're as young as you feel. But I think we had people from a wide variety of different occupations, ethnic backgrounds, everything else you could want on that committee. And considering it was really just came together from each of you appointing two people and me filling in a few gaps, I think we really came up with a good group. We had a lengthy meeting, and it was exactly what I was hoping for. People spoke their minds. We had a good discussion and a wide variety of different topics related to this position. If anything, I may have painted a somewhat pessimistic picture at times, because I was pretty honest about the difficulty we're going to be having in getting a good manager, not only the competition right now, but all the things I shared with you about 2 weeks ago. We are at this time finalizing the information that was put together by the committee. We spent a lot of time talking, and actually very little time wordsmithing, which is good. I mean, we can wordsmith stuff. We can put together the final details on things, but I think that as long as we're capable of capturing all the things that the committee said, I think we'll have a good document. What we're getting ready to finish off now is a profile of the community, a profile of the candidate that we're looking for, and the actual ad. And we had a few changes in the ad, quite a few changes in the profile of the community, and so we'll get all those wrapped up. We plan on advertising this next week, and I'll send you a copy of the actual profile in the packet on Friday when we get that done, but it's looking very good at this point. I guess one concern I do have is we did talk about a salary last time. We talked about, I believe we talked up to $125,000. Are you comfortable with that? We were looking at advertising a range. I think the range we talked about was $100,000 to $125,000, which kind of suggests that the person coming in won't necessarily get the top salary. That's going to depend on their qualifications. You have a relative, I mean, you're going to set the salary eventually anyway, but I mean, if we advertise it at 40 to 50, we're going to get a different candidate than advertise it at 100 to 125, and obviously a different candidate advertised at 2 to 225. Are you comfortable with that range? I guess that's my question.
Well, I think based on the information that you gathered and the report that you gave us at our last meeting, that seems to be the number that we need to be as a city of this size to attract the quality of candidate that we need to have fill the spot that you're going to be vacating. So I think that I'm sure we'd like to pay $50,000, but I don't think that's practical.
Yeah. And that number, as you saw, was kind of picked from what we're seeing in other places. And I don't know that that's going to have somebody drop a perfectly good job somewhere else and have them running here for that salary. But I do think it's a decent enough salary that if someone is looking at a position like this, they would consider that to be a reasonable salary position. And that's kind of what we're aiming at.
Yeah. Do you feel that it should be higher? That doesn't mean you're going to pay that, but to attract more people? I mean, because
I think that you have to pretty much put the top level of what the top level is you're really going to pay. Because I think if you set it higher than you're really not prepared to go that high, I think that you create a false expectation. Somebody may be thinking they're going to get 130, 135, and then when they don't realize they're somewhat insulted when they don't get that level. You may very well have to pay at the top of this level to get the person you want. We also considered not advertising a price at all. My concern with that is that it's easy to go back and find records that would indicate what the previous manager is making. Now that you got Google, you can check newspaper or anything else to find out. And what we don't want them to do is come here and think that this position is going to pay what Bill Becker was earning, because that would scare off a number of candidates. So that's why we feel it's probably more appropriate to go ahead and advertise a range.
I'd put the salary up front, cap it and go from there.
I mean, in looking at your city's comparable size from last time that you presented, it looked like the average was 131. I'm wondering if the 125 is representative of high enough, and neighboring cities, the average was 106. I just want to make sure we weren't shortchanging ourselves or limiting ourselves, I think, as Mr. Marconi was suggesting.
Are you speaking in terms of entry level for this individual, or are you speaking in terms of the range per se?
What I would anticipate is whatever salary you choose would be whatever salary you negotiate with the finalist would be their starting salary. They would probably go to some type of a cost of living increase every year after that, and maybe even some type of periodic, you could do a bonus, or you could also do periodic salary adjustments, based on more experience. Mr. Mulligan was referring to the cities of comparable size. That's recognizing a lot of those people have a lot more years and experience where they are.
Correct. Right.
So that kind of balances that type of thing out. But it's a starting salary for this person in this position, but then you're likely to increase it beyond that as you're satisfied with that person's performance.
So I understand this. We will strictly be advertising the starting salary range.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I think it also has to meet the expectations of the financial plan that we have set forth.
Well, within reason.
Years.
Yeah, I think there's a factor to be. I mean, also the salaries of other city department heads is also a factor here too. I mean, you don't want to have too much of a separation between the manager and the departments. We've got excellent department heads. I don't think we want to insult them by, implying that we're going to bring in a manager that's making dramatically more than they are. So that's a factor, and I think the public has a reason to be. Has an expectation that the salary should be a reasonable level in view of our financial situation in general. And if somebody comes in to just knock your socks off, you can go above that level, but I mean that's where your call sometime in the future. Oh, by the way, you will probably also have moving expenses that you have to pay for. I mean, you will expect this person to live in the city, and so you may be moving them from 20 miles away, or you may be moving them from 2,000 miles away, depending on, so there will be probably substantial moving expenses. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and put together the ad appropriately then. We need to advertise this thing. I think it needs to go out by next week to get to in the